And now we are actually going to announce that we are going to launch this Penang Paradigm in KL as well. We're going to do an exhibition as well as an opening launch event. The details of which we are still finalizing and will be announced very soon. It's just the terms of the venue and date lah, which we're just trying to finalize with the venue people. But basically the idea is to launch the Penang Paradigm, because if you look at the document which we have distributed to everybody, the Penang Paradigm, although it's about Penang, it's a blueprint for 10 years of development for Penang. But if you look into the nuance and if you look into the, the framework that we have laid out, it is basically also a plan that can be used nationally. So what we are saying is that Malaysia is stuck in the middle income trap. The government has done all sorts of things. They've tried ETP, GTP, last few years they've built Talent Corp, they've come up with so many programs, NKEA, MKRAs. But we feel, after doing extensive research, which is actually conducted by our head of research, Executive Director of Penang Institute, Professor Dr. Wu Wing Tai, who is a world-famous economist. He holds 3 professorships, one in the University of California, Davis, and 2 in China, as well as he's also a director of the Earth Institute in Columbia University, together with Professor Jeffrey Sachs. He was also advisor to the US Treasury, as well as the Chinese government on economic affairs. So this is a Penangite who has done very well, and he has come back, part of the brain gain in Penang, which we are trying to promote. And he has come back last year to help us put together this blueprint for Penang. But what Professor Wu has outlined, basically, after coming and doing research, he has found that the problem is that the federal government's approach to economic problems is merely, he would use this analogy, giving lots of vitamins to cure somebody who is sick without really understanding why they are sick, which is why all the plans, all the programs laid out by the government usually does not recognize the reasons or does not truly recognize the reasons why Malaysian economy is in the state that it is.
One of the biggest concerns raised or criticisms raised, particularly from Barisan Nasional, is the fact that we will bankrupt the country, or we will not be able to finance all the promises that we promised in the manifesto. Now, I just like to use this opportunity to highlight Penang as an example on where the money can come from. Now, when we took over the government, I suppose today I can speak as the director of Invest Penang. That will make me relevant to Penang. When Penang we first took over Penang in 2008, the budget was in the region of 400 million ringgit, Penang budget, state budget, and they were running a deficit. They were running a deficit on 400 million ringgit, which means not enough money. They spend more than what they have. 5 years later, the budget for Penang in 2013 is 930 million, right?
2013 is 1.03.
1.0. Last year was 900. This year is 1.03 billion ringgit. It has gone up by 2.5 times.
Yeah.
It has gone up by 2.5 times, and yet every single year we achieve surpluses, increasing surpluses. Last year's surplus was 127 million ringgit. So based on this alone, you can see that with good governance, which covers 2 areas. One is to reduce your costs, your expenses via open tenders for bidding and procurement processes. Reduce wastages by cutting away non-relevant and non-productive projects. By cutting away the cronies and the middlemen, you can save a lot of money. On the flip side, good governance also means if you manage your state assets well, your land premiums, When you sell land, make sure it's open tender and not directly awarded to cronies or companies that are not productive. You actually can raise a lot of money. Just 5 years, we 2.5 times, that means more than double our income to spend, and yet at the same time achieving surpluses. Now that tells you that if we are in federal government, there's no reason why with a 250 billion budget, we cannot increase returns to the people by approximately 10% per annum. And that's extremely conservative. 10% of 250 billion is 25 billion ringgit. And with 25 billion ringgit a year, there's a lot of things you can do. Free education is just 700 million ringgit a year. Barely 10% of what we can earn by practicing good governance. So many are failing to realize the extent to which we can save and earn if you practice good governance in the government.